Welcome back to the ETF Inspector Vacation Edition. It's Tuesday, August 12th, 10:30 at night. Just getting around to making the video. We're on vacation at the beach, so this is going to be pretty short and sweet, and I apologize for getting it out so late. This is our video covering YieldMax, weekly paying funds, ULTY, the Ultra Option Income Strategy Fund, and LFGY, the Crypto Industry and Tech Portfolio Option Income ETF. I'm on X, if you don't already follow me, at ETF_Inspector1. Besides putting out videos and information related to trades and distributions and announcements by YieldMax, I also let you know, hey, tonight's ULTY video is going to be late, heading out for mini golf. I made a post on here as well on YouTube, just trying to give as many people as possible a heads up that the video will be late. All right, before I get into it, first things first, I want to give a shout out and a thank you to, I think it was Gasman. Of course, now I can't find it. Gasman 9542 did a $9.99 super thanks. So, and he just said thanks. So, very much appreciated, Gasman. Thank you very much for that. Not expected. Very kind of you. All right, we'll take a look at the trading day. Both ULTY and LFGY were up around 1%. You got ULTY 0.99%. You saw the thumbnail, a whole lot of green with just a little bit of red sprinkled in. And then when we get down to LFGY, even more, up 1.37%, and just about everything green. There was some overlaps that are in both funds that were red, that otherwise LFGY would have been perfect. All right, but we'll dig a little deeper to see how we got there. So after 5:30, the trades come out, and that's kind of what pushed me. Also, if you haven't seen it yet, you're going to want to. Retire on Dividends did a live video right around the time I would have been working on my video right here. He's got himself scheduled for a couple of new morning shows, but right here's his most recent one, streamed 4 hours ago. So I watched that in between the beach and going out to dinner instead of getting the video ready. So if you're mad, blame him. No, I'm just kidding. All right, but we downloaded the trades. ULTY had a lot. We got a couple of shakeups. You probably saw it on the thumbnail. And then LFGY had a lot too, because they had a bunch of sales within the fund, which is going to make a lot of have to close out a lot of options. We'll start with ULTY. All right, so because it's 10:30 at night and because I'm on vacation, this video will not have the normal amount. If you notice, there's no orange. There won't be any orange on the other page. I just didn't have the time to sit and go through that. So we'll just get what we can. All right, off the bat, we took a little bit of profits on Palantir. It's just been climbing and climbing. My dad and I were just talking about them earlier today. Take a look at this. Here's 1 month of Palantir, 28%. 3 months, 45%. 6 months, 58%. Palantir just keeps climbing. So we sold some shares, still have plenty of money in there. We bought some more Rocket Lab to go with the shares we already have. So, of course, we're going to add to our collar strategy down below. And then Tesla's back. We bought Tesla again, about $100 million worth. I don't have the exact date. It's been maybe a couple weeks since we got out of them. So not sure if we made out well. That's based on a month. If we got out in one of these down dips and then bought up, that kind of stinks. But is what it is. We're bringing it in just so we can use it to make money. We're also started to play on AI. That's C3.ai. We've had them in the fund before and got rid of them. They're back. We didn't buy any shares. We just started an option, a put spread, where we sold 17s and bought 1550s, collecting $4.3 million. Then Galaxy A closeout and roll to next week resulted in a $1.4 million credit. Ion Q just closing out the 48s and rolling them down to 46s within the same week. $500,000 credit. MicroStrategy closing and rolling. Now this is surprising, but I guess it's the smaller. Let's see, MicroStrategy. Yeah, so it's the 428 contracts, not 3,200. So this is only a small position. Closing and rolling to next week and rolling down closer to the money. $246,000 credit. Oklo resulted in a $4.4 million credit on the closeout this week and roll to next week, also bringing the strike price down because the stock underlying dropped. Palantir, this was just closing out the options that went along with the shares that we just sold, so that one cost us $180,000. Rigetti, we just adjusted our put, sold the 14, bought a 1450, so we moved our protection up a little bit. It cost us $625,000. Rocket Lab, we said we bought more shares up top, so we had 15,000 more contracts to sell calls on at 46 for the collar and buy puts at 40, resulted in a $555,000 credit. SMCI closing for this week. Didn't mean to hit the mouse there. Closing for this week, rolling the next week, dropping $1 off the strike. Not a big deal. $709,000 credit. New Scale Power, SMR, just closing the call and rolling. Still within the same week, dropping the strike price by $2.50. $889,000 credit. Tesla, we just bought shares, so we started the collar strategy, selling puts or selling calls, buying puts. $600,000 collected. Unity Software, this one hurt a little, cost us $5.8 million. Closing out, are they a $300 stock or a 30? They're a 30. I think I did that last video too. Some of these newer ones take me a little bit of time. Closing our 34s and 3450s and selling 37s, still staying within the same week, 3750s. Adjusted the puts as well. Like I said, $5.8 million cost, and then finally a credit of $544,000 on Upstart. Closing out the 71s and 72s for this week, bringing them all the way down to 66s and 68s. Okay, altogether, that resulted in a profit or credit in our trading profit and loss, options trading profit and loss of 7.5, almost 7.6 million. It's going to take a lot of those to chip away at yesterday's deficit. As you see, that's going to go along with an increase in share values of 58 million. We'll see how. I just wanted to revisit my guesstimate. This came at the request of, I'll just say, one of the viewers. I can't remember who requested it. It came in a message. So they asked if, when I give my guesstimate, if I could also give what that comes out to as an annual percentage rate. So I just threw that down below, and when I did, I said, that's a little low. So I am officially going to revise my guesstimate to where they're paying out 80%. Okay, so I'm bringing it up from a 9.1 cents to 9.3 cents. And if you say I don't get to do that, I say it's my video and I'll do what I want. At least I didn't revise it after the numbers came out. Okay, as we go through, again, I'm going to rush through these because I want to go to bed. But lots of green, a little bit of red. Affirm Holdings was up, and their calls are still slightly out of the money, less than 1%. Expiring this week, 77.50s. Applied Materials up 2%. Very similar. Still out of the money by 0.8% on their 190s. AppLovin up 0.3%. They were already in the money with these 452.50s. Their 470s are still slightly out of the money by 0.6%. AST Space Mobile. This is a big one. I don't know if I remembered. I did. Okay. I got my red and green. So 8% was not the big winner, but it's still nice. Increased the value by 13 million, just under 50, and that's where their lowest calls are, 50, and then they have 51s and 5150s, anywhere from 0.5% to 3.5% out of the money. Bitmine Immersion up 5.8%. This week's 60s are in the money by almost 4%. Next week's 70s are still 12% out of the money. Webull up over 5%, still out of the money on both calls sold, 16s and 17s, 2 and 8% out of the money. Coinbase up almost 1%. It was enough to take their 320s into the money by 0.8%. 332.50s are 3% out of the money, and then they also have sold 255 puts. That's $255 as the strike price puts. They're 20% out of the money. The only way they'd go in the money first, the purchased puts would go in the money and increase in value much more. So I'm pretty sure this is just a way to help offset a little bit of the cost of the protective puts by making it a put spread. Not necessarily in the sense of hoping for it to go down the way you would normally figure a debit put spread, just in the sense of generating some income as far as the way that works. That was on Coinbase. We only have 20 million in our First American Government Obligations Fund. Galaxy Digital down 2%, one of the few down stocks. Anywhere from 2 to almost 13% out of the money on this week's calls. Robinhood up 0.4%, still 1 to 3% out of the money on these 116s and 118s. The big loser today, IonQ, down 4.3%, $43 even. That actually got these 43.50s back in the money, or out of the money, I'm sorry. They were in the money by 1%, so it's a good thing they didn't panic and close them out on Monday with tons of time to go and being in the money, because the very next day it worked out in their favor as far as the option trade. 48s are also out of the money by 11.6%. Mara Holdings up 0.38%. They've got 16s and 1650s, anywhere from 1.7 to almost 5% out of the money. MicroStrategy down almost 1.5%. 415s and 417.50s expiring Friday are 5.2 to 5.8% out of the money. Nebius Group, 7.25% increase resulted in their 71s going into the money by 5.75%. Their 79s are out of the money by 4.8%. Now, just a quick pause, right? Normally, I'll go through these and we'll highlight all the ones that got closed out and then highlight it over here. So some of these are getting closed out today and rolled. Just the new update, the correct information will be there tomorrow. I just didn't want to spend any more time, because the more time I spent preparing these sheets, the even later it would be before I could even start to make the video. So Oklo up over 9% today. Worked out good. They had lots of room to grow. So this all went uncapped. Increased the value by 13 million. Didn't hurt any of the options. Anywhere from almost 2% to 8% out of the money with those 80s, 83s, and 85s. Palantir up 2.35%. Like we said, they took some profit and sold some after this nice run they've been on. And then we've got 182.50s that are 2.3% in the money, and then 187.50s and 192.50s that are 0.2 and almost 3% out of the money. Reddit up almost 1.5%, still 0.4 and 1.5% out of the money on this week's 225s and 227.50s. Rigetti up 1.38%. Took their 16s in the money by 1.2%, and their 1650s are out of the money by 1.8%. Rocket Lab down 3.5%. Calls expiring this week at 47.50 and 48 are 9 to 10.5% out of the money. SMCI up to 2.7%. They've got 48s and 49s, 3.3 to 5.5% out of the money. New down a fraction, 0.2% or 8 cents. You can see previous close to today's close, 11 and 12% out of the money. Unity Software, the big winner today, up over 12%, up over $12 million. Took their options into the money. We did talk about them, so Unity Software did lots of rolling, spending $5.8 million. And finally, Upstart Holdings down 0.08% or 5 cents. Calls for this week are 7 to 13.5% out of the money. So all those increases with a couple of decreases resulted in a $58.7 million increase in value on the day. ULTY closing at 610. Let's see if that update is correct. Like I said, these usually take a long time. 610 is correct. On Monday, there was an increase in shares purchased, bringing outstanding shares up by $5.7 million to 513,575,000. That NAV was before things started today and went up. And everybody who was getting nervous with ULTY sitting so low should have been happy with a nice increased day. Net assets or assets under management, $3,090,350,891.68 to be exact. And then this was another request. I can't remember who requested what, but they asked if we could put the most recent distribution on there. This one came actually. I don't remember who asked it, but I do remember where to find it. It was in my messages. D.A. Barack. I don't know if or it's Da Barack or D.A. Barack. He asked for that. So, most recent, 10.03 cents. I think we're going to be under 10. I think we're going to be in the 9s this time. But, all right, there's our ULTY update. Tomorrow is going to be distribution declaration day, so we'll be filling that one in. Before that, I'll be reposting it as soon as YieldMax comes out with it. Let's check out LFGY now. Real quick, if you're new, ULTY trades a collar strategy, so that's why they are selling calls and buying puts. LFGY does not, but if you watched, I actually got a question in on Retire on Dividends interview here. So asked about protective puts on other funds, and he gave us a little sneak peek since the market was closed and said that they started buying some puts over here in LFGY today. Now, of course, it's on a day where I didn't really dig through, but maybe we'll see if we can pick them out real quick on the way through. Okay, but in general, they just do a covered call strategy. Sometimes they protect how much they would have to spend to close it by buying a further out of the money call. But we'll see if we see some puts. I did go through. All right, so we've got sales of actual shares themselves. These aren't options. And it was every single thing within the fund. So they just did a portion of each, probably doing a little bit of rebalancing along with it because you've got lots of 200,000s, but then you get a couple sprinkled in, 500,000 on MicroStrategy, 400 on Coinbase, 600 on iBit. So we had a couple of big ones. That all resulted in a $5.6 million sale. Now, a lot of times the day before or right around declaration when they sell a bunch of shares, the math works out and gives us a really good idea at the payout. But if we took that and divided it by the 5.1 million shares, that'd be $1 a share. That'd be nice, but it's not happening. Watch it happen. Okay. Now, with every single one of these selling of shares is going to come a closing out of the options associated with it. And then, obviously, if they're doing a little bit of extra work, but they are always buying and selling much smaller amounts of contracts, not the full section at a time. So we're not going to go through $200 at a time trades. The biggest one that stood out before we go looking for, and we found them already, but no, we didn't. But MBTX, all right, MBTX, we've got a credit call spread that we closed out and so. Nope, never mind. This is just closing out a portion of it. I don't know. Closed out a portion of it and then sold back the exact same thing. Made out well though. Bought it to close for $14.69 and sold it for $16.30. So different amount of shares though. Sold the puts and then bought them back for more money though. And then they adjusted that debit put spread. So this is going to look like a $2 million loss, but it's really not, because a portion of it is investment because it's going towards a debit put spread. So on a credit option spread, credit call spread or credit put spread, you collect the most amount of money you can possibly win on the trade in the beginning, and then at the end you have to close it out and see how you made out, whether or not you won or not. On a debit option spread, call or put, you are basically putting up the money at first, and then at the end you see how well you did closing it out. You get to sell the things that you purchased and hope that the value went up. So this is more of a money invested than a loss on a trade, but we do know that this put spread has been losing. So closing out the 150s on those, that's the sold end of it, and selling to open 175. So they adjusted the whole put spread up closer to the strike price. So they don't think that it's going to drop quite as much as they had originally thought. All right, and let's just do a quick peek through here and see if we see any purchased puts. Haven't seen any yet. See a lot of, we're looking in this transaction of this QSIP. Well, that's not a QSIP, but we're looking for a P, right? All these C's are calls. We know we got P's for puts in MBTX, but that is not protective puts. That's selling of puts. I don't want to say Jay's wrong, but I don't see any purchases of protective puts in the transactions today for LFGY. So maybe he got it confused, because he did mention a couple other funds. I think he said GPTY and AIYY. So maybe he just got LFGY confused in there. Not that it's got anything to do with our video. Let's see if we have any purchased puts in GPTY. This is defeating the intent of keeping my video short and sweet. I don't see any in there either. Chippy? No protective puts purchased. He didn't say renty. Well, hopefully he didn't give away the plan for tomorrow ahead of time. So, okay, hopefully nobody that can get him in trouble watches the video. All right, so all of those transactions total up for a negative $2.5 million in the options trading profit and loss. And remember, 2.48 of it came just from MBTX. So that was pretty much break even on everything else. It's going to come with a $3 million increase in value. Before we get there, just a update on, because I was asked to add this percentage block. So my guesstimate remains the same, although I think we might get surprised to the upside. 42.5 cents over here on LFGY, for tomorrow is my guess, and that would be a 60.73% estimate, and that percentage is based off of the closing price from Friday, which would be when the estimate gets made. Okay, we take a look at the stocks within the fund. Sorry, starting to get that sleepy voice. Bitmine immersion up decent, 5.8%. As I scroll through real quick, I think I did forget to color our best and worst on these. There it is, 6% increase. And I think we only had one or two. What do we say? Galaxy's down 2%, MicroStrategy's 1.46%. So Galaxy's the big loser. Okay, Bitmine immersions calls are still 4% out of the money, expiring next Friday. BitDeer Technology up 3.28%. They've got calls that are in the money by 1.5% at 13, and then out of the money 2.2 to 6%, 1350s and 14s. CleanSpark up 0.5%, still 5.8 to 10.8% out of the money on calls expiring Friday, 10.50 and 11. Coinbase up almost 1%, still 8.5% out of the money on this week's 350 calls. Core Scientific up almost 4%. Took their 15s into the money by 0.7%. Circle Internet Group up 1.27%. Their 170s expiring Friday are still 4% out of the money. iShares Ethereum Trust, ETF ETHA up, big winner, 6.2%. They had room to go, so this was all uncapped. 35s are still 2% out of the money, resulted in an over $500,000 increase. These numbers are going to look a lot different because this is a $180 million fund, not a $3 billion fund. Galaxy Digital, big loser, down 2%. 29s for this Friday are almost 4% out of the money. GameStop up 2.3%. Their 23s are getting close at 0.3% out of the money. They're 7 cents away. Robinhood Markets up 0.4%. They've got 120s and 125s expiring Friday, 5 to 9.5% out of the money. Hut 8 Corp up 4.9%. They were pretty close, just in the money. Now they're well in the money. We can take a look real quick. Did Hut 8 Corp close 3,900 contracts? I don't think so. No. Okay, so they're okay with those being in the money. They're going to let it slide for now. iShares Bitcoin Trust up almost 0.5%, just under 68. No options that are traded there. Mara Holdings up 0.38%, 1572. Their calls at 16 and 1650 are still 1.7 and almost 5% out of the money. MBTX, they don't own any shares, so today's increase doesn't help or hurt the shares. And they did not close out this credit call spread, so their calls are currently 1% in the money. That's a bad thing. And then they did completely swap out these puts, so now they have purchased at 175 and sold at 255. So now everything will change tomorrow when we download the holdings. Mercado Libre up 2.5%, still 2% out of the money with those 2400s. MicroStrategy down almost 1.5%, 7.7 to 9% out of the money on those 425s and 430s. NU Holdings up 2.6%, still 6% out of the money on Friday's $13 calls. NVIDIA Corp up 0.6%, still 1% out of the money on 185s expiring Friday. Everything else is expiring Friday as well. Opera up 2.8%. They still had 6.5 and 21.5% to go on those 1750s and 20s. PayPal up 1.3%. 69s are still 1.5% out of the money. Riot Platforms up almost 3%, still 4.9% out of the money on Friday's 12s. And Block up a little over 2%. Their 78s are still 4.6% out of the money. So all those increases with just the decreases from Galaxy and MicroStrategy resulted in a $3.1 million increase. We're creeping closer to that 190 mark on the $190 million assets under management. LFGY, sorry, I always have to check. For some reason, the fund prices don't update as well. But this late at night, I guess they finally get it together. 3703. I'm usually not still up making videos at this point. No change in outstanding shares, 5,175,000. NAV was 36.39 before things started today. Was up 1.3%. So it's going to get you real nice and close to that 37. And their most recent distribution last Friday was 43.66, 43 cents. All right, so quick recap before we get to the dad joke. I know you guys listen to all these numbers and boring stuff just so you can hear a funny dad joke. ULTY had a surplus in their trading profits and loss, or credit, of 7.5, almost $7.6 million. That's realized. The trading is realized. The share value increases and decreases are not. That's just how much value went up or down based off of stock market moves. So we are up 58 million today to go along with yesterday's 38 million. So we're off to a real nice start, increase in value on the week. And again, I increased my guesstimate to 9.3 cents. We'll find out at 6:55 tomorrow. And LFGY had a deficit or a loss, 2.5 million in the trading options, and increase of 3.1 million as far as share value increases. And my guesstimate for tomorrow morning is 42.5 cents. All right, that's everything for the video. I got long-winded there in the middle and defeated the purpose of trying to go fast. So before the dad joke, just thank you, everybody. Appreciate all the likes, shares, comments, feedback, everything. Right, when it makes sense, the requests that people put in, I add them in. If it's going to add a lot of work, I'm probably capped on how much I can take on right now. But if it's something real nice and quick, add one box that shows something. Hopefully you guys like that. So, all right, dad joke of the day. What has 5 toes and isn't your foot? My foot. I feel like I've told that one before. But it's on the dad joke calendar for Tuesday, August 12th. All right, good night, everybody. I feel like instead of good luck trading, I'll close it out the way Mr. Michael, I didn't hear him pronounce his own last name to catch how he said it. And I hate to mess somebody's last name up. Mike K, the new YieldMax strategist, he said, trade well. So trade well tomorrow. And I'll catch you in tomorrow's video. Good night.